Hey, welcome back to the garage, everybody. As you can see, we're going to be messing with this Cobra again. Basically right now what we're going to do, we're just going to kind of be freshening everything up and just kind of giving it like a fresh bill of health, if you will. I hadn't really done too much of this after we got it. The guy I bought it from, he said he did like plugs and stuff and passed it through smog and it went through with flying colors, so I hadn't really done much, and I haven't really driven it much, to be honest, as much as I thought I was going to with this whole COVID thing going on. But basically, I'm just gonna pull the plugs out to start, and we're gonna do like a compression test, make sure we know it's good, and I'll kind of show you how to do that. And we're gonna start with just basically upgrading the ignition system. We got new wires, we got new coils, and we got new plugs. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's get started on it. So the first thing you're going to want to do, you got one of these, take off the strut tower brace. Now these are only on the Cobras from the factory, but you might have one retrofitted onto the car or something like that if you bought one used that has this. But yeah, easy to get it off. It's just the bolts over here on the both strut towers, and then the ones in the back comes right off. And then you got just plenty of access to everything. I think you probably have to take it off actually on these because of where the air intake is. But yeah, comes off easy. The next thing we're doing is pulling off this intake. Just getting stuff out of the way. Comes out pretty easy. You got your hose clamp. You got a couple little hoses that feed it for its PCV system. And then if you undo this clamp here, this base just comes right off. And that's where your air filter is if you needed to get to that. But there it is. Air filter doesn't look too bad. It looks like it got a little dirty when someone was putting it in there, but yeah, I mean, we might have to see about doing something with that, huh? I said it before and I'll say it again. This ratchet, the best tool I've probably ever bought. There you go. All that, you dig down to your spark plug wires. Another thing that's going to come in handy when you're working on something with like dual overhead cams like this, so like the wires are a little bit like sunken down in there. There's not like the classic on the side of the engine type V8 wires. So spark plug wire pliers, because basically when you're getting in here, see how the wires are kind of flush to the head. So I mean, you can grab them with your hand, but sometimes you can't get a real good grip. With these, get in here, you can give it like a nice twist, so it'll pop off nice and easy, just like so. So as you can see, the guy probably was, up and up. He told the truth. Like it has had plugs pretty recently, but oh, they're probably the same plugs I got too. Okay, so good. Like that's good news. So we know this thing was probably pretty well taken care of before then, because that's exactly I think what I'm going to be putting in it. All right, so now we got all the plugs out. Now what we're going to do, just to make sure the engine's in good shape, we're going to do a compression test. So went to O'Reilly's, got this as one of the loaner tools. I don't do a whole lot of compression tests, so I didn't bother buy one. And what you do is, first, it has different threads that come with it. So this is like an adapter. These are the threads it already has. And so you just got to make sure that they're the right threads for your engine. So with our spark plugs, that's how you tell. You look at your spark plugs. So with ours, you can see where it has the nice like deep threads and everything. And so the best way to do it, kind of compare them up like that and make sure there's no gap. Just make sure threads are right. And so that's what we're going to use, because that kind of matches the top of our spark plug. So you thread it on. This is your gauge here. And all you do, you're gonna take this. Well, actually, we're gonna start on this side over here, because on the Fords, usually it's bank 1, bank 2. So we're just gonna start with bank 1. It doesn't really matter which way you start, but this is just what I'm doing. You feed the hose down in there. And then you just kind of spin it on. You know, it shouldn't have any resistance or anything because you're just spinning it on hand tight. And then once you get to where it doesn't really want to turn no more, you're in. You don't have to worry about like tightening it too tight. And this goes on just like an air compressor fitting or something where you pull back on it. Clicks in like that, no problem. So basically what we're gonna do is, it's best when you have a helper for this part because you're gonna have your helper go in the car, especially when you have a stick shift. You gotta push the clutch and everything, get the thing to turn over. So you turn the car over and you basically watch the gauge and it's gonna go pump, 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 pump until it kind of slows down and it'll stop in kind of wherever its compression is. And that's the method I've always done. That's the method I was taught. I know there's different methods, but that's what we're gonna be doing. Go ahead. So we seem to have a leak in our gauge somewhere here, it seems.
Oh no.
So that's kind of weird. Let's try that again. All right. So yeah, we have a slight leak, so we're just gonna kind of go off the gauge and we'll get an idea of where it bumps up on each cylinder because it should all be about similar. So that's kind of what we're gonna be doing. So here's something I haven't ever seen happen before. So as I'm doing it here, this one wouldn't come out. And so now, you can see it here, when I'm twisting it, the hose spins, but not the actual fitting in the head. So, I'm gonna figure that out. So I got it out, and so basically what was happening is, if you see right here, see how there's like a fitting right here? And so it just twists on here. So when you put it down in there, it's just twisting on there because it got a little tight on here because I think it got on the O-ring and stuff. Anyway, so I finally got it out basically by sticking some needle nose down in the spark plug hole, grabbing it like this, and I was kind of trying to like push on it to get it. And I couldn't see while I was doing that, but when I would do it a little bit and then come back off and then do it with my hand with a flashlight down there, I could see that this brass part was starting to spin a little bit, and so that's what ended up getting it out. So if you have that problem, try it. I don't think I'm doing number 8 on this thing because I'm not doing that again. So, you know, I was saying I don't do it a lot, so I went to the parts store, got the loaner. So maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe if you're gonna do this with an engine you care about, like a hand-built SVT engine in a Cobra, you go ahead and go buy something nice, I guess. You have all your numbers. I kind of write them out. 1 through 4, 5 through 8. Of course, I didn't do 8 because we just had a fiasco. But all the numbers are pretty solid, like even across. Basically, what you're looking for is you don't want to see too big of a like variation between the numbers. And we didn't until number 7, but number 7 is where we had the fiasco. So I don't think I'm going to condemn the engine because of that. I think I'm condemning that stupid compression gauge because I think it finally let go and wouldn't actually hold together anymore. But so far, I think we're looking good. All right, so now we get to the goodies. We got coils, which is going to kind of decide how we have to gap our spark plugs. We got some upgraded coils here. These are the Screamin' Demon coils from Performance Distributors. Here they are. I mean, they look pretty much like stock, but these are supposed to fire just way better. But when you put these in, you actually have to change the gap of your spark plugs. And so that's what I gotta look through here, find the instructions, or look them up online or whatever, and reread about what that gap is, because I forgot since I ordered them. But that's that. We got new spark plugs, which I am just gonna go ahead and use. They're not that expensive, so I figure why not throw in some fresh stuff since we're doing some upgrades. The other thing we got is we got some Ford racing wires. Now I read some mixed reviews on these after I bought them, but I've had Ford racing wires on my other Mustang, my 85, and they always did pretty well for me there. So I'm gonna give them a shot and see what happens. All right, so found the paper room with the coils, and yeah, it does say right on here. So we gotta put it up to 65 thousandths. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get those plugs gapped and get it back in here. All right, so we got the plug gap and everything. Another thing I like to do before I put the plugs in, especially on something with like aluminum heads like this, is get a little bit of your NIC's lubricant and just get a little dab here on the threads. You don't need a lot, just a little bit. And just make sure that the metals don't kind of seize together or anything like that. Just make sure everything comes out nice. You don't have to do it, but just a nice little step. Other thing is you want to try to start everything by hand, just to make sure everything threads right and everything, because you can ruin stuff. All right, so another thing you want to do when you have everything kind of open like this and doing kind of like tune-up type stuff is go ahead and clean the throttle body. If you come down in here, you can see where it's just kind of dirty. Like this one's not actually too filthy. Again, I think this car was kind of taken care of, but you can see that little line of dirt in there. So we're gonna go ahead and clean that out. What we're gonna use for that, we're gonna use just like a toothbrush and then a little bit of like a carb cleaner. We're using this one, but you can use any one. I actually tend to like the Varian's B12, but this is what I got.
And be careful, because that straw thing does come off and then it goes in your throttle body and then you gotta dig it out.
Yeah, but that shouldn't happen. So it should look basically like that when you're all done. Nice, bright, silver, gold color on your butterflies there. Good to go. All right, so now let's break these out. So these are the Ford Racing high performance spark plug wire set, specifically for 4-valve Cobra. We got the red ones because I like red. One of the kind of cool things about Ford Racing wires, in my opinion, is it actually has them all numbered too, so that way you know what cylinder they're supposed to be for. The other thing I like to do is get a little dielectric grease. Just get a little bit up in the boot here. Make sure you have like a good connection in there, and it makes it easier to take apart later. Looks like these might already have a little bit like pre-grease on them, but I'm gonna put a little bit on there for making sure. So kind of like that, kind of leave them all kind of loose, but kind of where they're supposed to go, so that way you can kind of go back through and fix your routing and stuff once you have everything all in there. All right, so there it is. We got the spark plug wires on it. Something to keep in mind if you're actually going to go to these or anything bigger, the stock wires are 8mm and these were 9mm. So a lot of the wire combs didn't really want to fit back on, or at least 2 of them for me. So luckily I had a couple aftermarket ones that I put on from other projects I had. But that's something you want to keep in mind, is to maybe look about getting some wire combs for it. But other than that, it's all in there. Gonna wait to test it out. I got a few more things we want to do to it in the next video, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna throw on some filters and just finish up doing some more maintenance on it. So, and remember, subscribe, like, comment, all that kind of good stuff. We got more Cobra coming for you, so stay tuned for that next video.